Hey everybody, now that you've had a chance to learn a little bit about what computational social science is, I want to tell you a little bit about why we started SICSS, the Summer Institutes in Computational Social Science. The first and most important reason is that we face a lot of challenges, both as a field of researchers and also as a society. In other words, there's a lot of big problems in the world that we're dealing with right now that require the tools of computational social science to solve them. A pretty obvious example right now is the COVID-19 pandemic. More than ever, we're seeing the need to track human behavior on a massive scale, using social media data, using advertising data, using Google search data, to try to make sense not only about things like the spread of the disease itself, but also whether measures that have been put in place such as social distancing directives, have been impactful. Like Duncan Watts likes to say, maybe this is the moment where social science has finally found its telescope. We can ask questions about things like the spread of disease or how to prevent disease with unprecedented detail and acumen. So that's a huge opportunity, but it's also a huge challenge. The second big challenge that we face as a field, as computational social scientists, is that our field is growing so rapidly. Here's some data that I pulled together with some graduate students of mine and a postdoc who I worked with that looks at data from the Web of Science. The Web of Science, in case you don't know, is a really large repository of scholarly work. So journal articles, in a lot of different fields, probably the biggest one we have access to. Now, it's not perfect. It leaves out important things like conference proceedings. It leaves out a lot of books. But it's probably the best way we can get a sense of where the field of computational social science is growing and in what disciplines. So as this graph shows, the big takeaway here is it's growing everywhere and fast. It's growing fastest in fields like psychology, business and communications, sociology, political science, economics, and many, many other fields. If you want to learn a little bit more about how this data was put together, you can look at the link at the bottom of this slide or on your screen right now. A third challenge we face is we're not only growing fast, but we're growing in every direction. So we have people making huge advances in, say, political science that aren't being conveyed to people in, say, psychology, or vice versa. Now, if we plot the network, where we connect every study in computational social science by a tie, if those studies are citing each other, we see something that looks like this. We see pretty good interdisciplinary conversation happening in the middle of this network. We see a lot of people who depend upon each other, but we also see some isolated fields, some disciplines that have not yet come into the fold. And I think all of us who practice computational social science would agree that we need each other more than ever. We can't just use machine learning to solve social science problems, and social science on its own can't ignore things like machine learning if we want to take on the biggest questions of our time, like how to fight back against COVID-19. So we need to learn how to grow fast, and we need to learn how to grow with each other. And we need to do this while we're solving some of the hardest problems that social scientists have ever been asked to solve. Another huge challenge that we recognized when we put together SICSS is that high quality training opportunities are really rare. So most often people might get skills from, say, a computer science class where they might learn great skills in computer science. You might become a fully fluent Java programmer, or you might learn a lot about systems architecture. The important question is, though, is that the most efficient way for a social scientist to learn? And conversely, can a computer science professor recognize the many challenges that a social scientist might face? Things like you're going to learn about throughout this program, like response bias, selection on the dependent variable, circular reasoning, right? The broader tendency for social scientists to care a lot about the difference between the data that we collect and the data that we don't collect, right? All of these things are central to social science. So what do we need? We need a space in between. We need those who don't have a lot of coding skills to learn some coding skills, and we also need those who have a lot of coding skills to learn a heck of a lot of social science. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to provide a really unique training opportunity that brings together both people who can code like this and people for whom this code is a little bit intimidating. And we want to welcome everybody. I'll have some more to say about that in just a minute. So how do we get there? What's the most efficient way to solve big problems, to let the field grow rapidly, to let the field grow across many different fields, and to give everyone high quality training in precisely the type of stuff that they need? This is why we came up with SICSS. The idea is pretty simple. We provide high quality lectures. We provide an opportunity for promising young scholars to come together, interact with each other, build a community, and even, as I'll explain in a few minutes, do some really exciting research together. Though SICSS started out in 2017 as a relatively small conference of 30 people at Princeton, it's since grown into a massive worldwide enterprise. And we're really, really happy about that. So our first goal is to provide state-of-the-art training, to teach you how to recognize code like this, in this picture here, but also to give you the instinct, if you are perhaps someone who doesn't have much background in social science, to learn and understand the basics of human behavior so that you can better recognize how the rapidly expanding toolkit of STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, could be repurposed to study human behavior. So, as I mentioned earlier, another core challenge we have is straddling disciplines. We've got to connect economists to sociologists. We've got to connect sociologists to data scientists. We've got to connect data scientists to public health people if we're going to solve challenges like COVID-19. So how do we do that? Here again, you see in this slide both the opportunity for connection and the challenges of maintaining that connection. So rather than train just, say, one type of social scientist, rather than getting all the political scientists in one room and training them, or getting all the sociologists in one room and train them, we've learned that putting everybody in one place both optimizes the learning experience and also propels the field forward in terms of research. We get to hash out all those sticky, difficult, interdisciplinary conversations that we have to have, things like recognizing each other's jargon, learning how to talk to each other, but we're also going to learn a ton from each other. And that's the second goal here. We also want to do this because we know that atypical combinations of science actually lead to better science. This is the abstract pictured here of an article by Brian Uzi and colleagues that actually measured the impact of scholarly work by things like citations, media mentions, and so on. And what they found is that the more interdisciplinary teams are, the more impact they have. And we've certainly seen that, and are starting to see that, in the group projects that we are incubating here at SICSS. Third, we want to reach a really broad audience. A core challenge with any kind of computational field is people perceive it as hard or inaccessible, or they think they're just not good at coding. We want to provide an environment where virtually anyone can enter the field. That's easier said than done. We want to reach both computer scientists who have been, and data scientists who have been coding in 3 or 4 languages for, say, 5 or 6 years and teach them about social science. We also want to take social scientists who have never been introduced to, say, an open source computing language and tell them what that's all about and explain to them why we think that's vital for their career. So we want to reach a really broad audience. Already we've done that. In 2018, we had about 8 partner sites in locations as diverse as Helsinki, South Africa, Chicago, New York, and in 2019, we're really proud to say that we expanded even further to Mexico City, to Istanbul, and some of those sites that I just mentioned, Cape Town, Chicago, repeated. So we're really starting to see the community grow, and we're really starting to reach a broader and broader audience. And what we're trying to do at SICSS is provide a core modular curriculum that you can take and repurpose to your audience. So if your audience is mostly data scientists who already know a lot about coding, our curriculum is designed to help you introduce them to social science. If, on the other hand, your audience is, say, mostly social workers who have very little exposure to coding and don't have a lot of, say, quantitative training in social sciences, we want to provide a curriculum that takes you from 0 to 60, from beginner to expert. And so we're really trying to reach a broad audience. This map here shows just how far we're expanding, either from 2018 to 2019 to this year to future years, where we expect to expand into East Asia, South America, Europe, and increasingly Africa. If you want to check out any of the material or the communities we've built from previous years, we invite you to check out the SICSS website in order to find links to all the participants, the organizers, and all the unique content that people in those particular places produced. We also have started, or I should say our students have started, exciting new initiatives to help further diversify computational social science. If you have a minute, check out verycss.org. This is a really exciting new initiative started by Taylor Brown and Tina Lee to identify underrepresented groups in computational social science and give them a way of connecting to each other, creating a community there, but also helping all of us senior scholars who are organizing conferences, who are, say, hiring folks, to really see the remarkable many different kinds of diversity that this field now has. And again, just like we think that scholarly diversity is going to lead to better science, we think that having diverse perspectives from people from many different countries, language areas, religions, ethnicities, class statuses is going to improve our field as well. Our fourth goal at SICSS is to be fully open source. We want to make everything available to anyone who wants it. The central vehicle from which we've done that is our website, which you can visit by Googling SICSS, the Summer Institutes in Computational Social Science. And there you'll find not only information like you might have seen already about how to get involved in a SICSS site, but also a permanent repository of online videos, code, annotated code examples, and other learning materials to help you either teach yourself or to use them or repurpose them from your own classes. This site, called Learning Materials, which is a part of our webpage, has all of these materials from past years, this year, and will soon have material from future years as well as a variety of bonus materials from leading figures in the field that we're really excited for you to check out. Finally, you can find all the materials that we use in our teaching curriculum, every slide, every picture, every image, every snippet of code, on our GitHub site, which is linked at the bottom of this slide here. What this lets you do is see how we, for example, build presentations like the one I'm showing you right now. But it also lets you decide, hey, I really like this piece of content, but I really didn't like this other one, and I want to swap it out. I want to do my own thing. Again, SICSS is supposed to be modular. We not only provide you with some core curriculum, but the many people who have led SICSS sites all over the world are doing the same. And we've now got a rich curriculum across many different languages, different programming languages, different substantive foci that anybody can learn from, we hope. Finally, we want to put ourselves out of business. We want to teach you. We want to teach the teachers. Why do we want to do this? Because we think this is the fastest way to help computational social science grow. And we're really pleased to say that already in our first 2 years, we've trained some of the most exciting young leaders in the field who've already run their own SICSS partner sites, but who are also advancing into faculty positions, postdocs, and industry positions all across the world. And so we want you to know that as you're learning here, we'd love for you to pay it forward, to train someone else. That's how I learned, that's how we all learn. So let's teach the teachers. Finally, by virtue of this massive expansion across the world, we've created a really remarkably diverse community that you now have access to. If you follow the link below, you'll find a list of everyone who's ever participated in a SICSS site. Many of them have websites and other materials linked that you can check out to find potential research collaborators or to reach out for people for help or guidance. Because we've tried to incubate this mentality of paying it forward, we think you'll be surprised when you reach out. You may just get a wonderfully enthusiastic response from the great people that we try to bring together at SICSS each year. So finally, in this section of the videos, I just want to tell you a little bit about how SICSS works. First, our schedule will vary a little bit across sites, and across years, but more or less, we ask you to participate in lectures by Matt Selganik, myself, or other partner site leaders during the first week of the event. And during the second week of the event, we do research. And mixed in between there are a lot of group-based research exercises and also lectures by leading scholars in the field. Top-notch people who inspired us and we hope will inspire you. Before we start the research process, we do something a little unique here at SICSS. We do something called research speed dating. We put everyone in a room after they've had about a week to learn material. For many people, this is very new material, and to work together in small groups and to meet some of these top leaders in the field. And then we put them in different small groups and ask them to come up with research ideas. First, we put them in groups where people are matched with similar interests, and they come up with one type of idea. Then we put people in groups that are extraordinarily and intentionally diverse. Then we see what type of research ideas they come up with. Then, after each group has created a few rough research ideas, we put them all up on a board and people opt on to different research projects at different sites. Where we can, we support these efforts with small grants, which are rare for junior scholars, graduate students, postdocs, and junior faculty, we realize, to get their feet wet in the field of research. Our core curriculum covers about 6 issues. In these first sets of videos, you're getting an introduction to computational social science. And in the following videos, you're going to get an introduction to ethics, an enormously important subject, which really is crucial to the future of the field. You're going to learn about things like how digital research is recasting issues like informed consent or beneficence or other types of principles that we've used to guide human subjects research in the social sciences for years. And you're going to do interesting small group exercises where you discuss the ethical trade-offs of some of the most exciting or risky field experiments attempted to date. The second big picture topic is collecting digital trace data. And that really means collecting data from websites, archives, any kind of usually text-based data, though not always text-based data, that helps us study human behavior at scale. We'll learn about things like application programming interfaces, how to collect data from a site like Twitter. We'll learn about screen scraping, how to extract information from a website. Finally, we'll learn a little bit about building apps and bots for social science research, which is some of the frontier of the field that I'm really excited about and excited to teach you about. On the next day, you'll learn about automated text analysis, one of the hottest fields in computational social science. I'll give you a tour of basic text analysis, dictionary-based methods, unsupervised methods such as topic modeling and text networks, and we'll wrap up with some broader discussion of how these text measurement tools can be used to study human behavior. Our fourth big topic is surveys in the digital age. So just as survey response rates are plummeting, the opportunity to meet people where they are online is more potent than it ever has been. And so Matt Selganik is going to talk to you a lot about that, talk to you about non-probability sampling, talk to you about digital surveys in the digital age, and talk about both the opportunities and the challenges of that new type of research. The next subject is mass collaboration. You're going to learn from one of the best. Matt Selganik is going to talk to you about his exciting work on both wiki surveys, tools for collaboratively measuring public opinion amongst large groups of people, and also the Fragile Families Challenge, the first ever, to my knowledge, attempt to create a data science style competition around a social science problem like childhood poverty. Finally, we're going to teach you about experiments, and specifically the enormous opportunity to run field experiments, either in vivo experiments on online platforms, or create platforms where you yourself can control how people are interacting, really opening up a huge new array of questions to study human behavior. To access all these materials, you simply need to go to the Learning Materials section of our website that's linked below. There you'll find not only all of the videos like you're watching now, but any slides, annotated code, and other learning or teaching materials that you need to follow along with each lecture. Also on that page, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see we have a section called Visiting Speakers, where you can see videos from the last 3 years by leading figures like here Duncan Watts, or Deborah Estrin, or Sendel Mullainathan, or David Lazar, Gary King, really wonderful top names in the field, and we'd love for you to check all those out. Lastly, I want to say a few things about our group projects. Though many of these are going to take the form of pretty modest proposals about research you might have done, how much can you really do in 1 week? Well, the answer is quite a lot. Can you write a whole paper and can you publish it? No. Could you write an entire R project and get it online? Maybe not. But the idea is to crash this, to do it on the startup model, and to see how far you can get, to start the project, and to ensure or to encourage you to continue it afterwards. We provide small amounts of funding during the event with the possibility of larger amounts and helping you connect to other funders after the event. And already we're really proud to say that our research is appearing in top journals such as the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, as well as other kind of real contributions that might not be, say, academic outputs, but software or other open source tools, or the very SICSS initiative that I told you about earlier to help diversify computational social science. Finally, if you're following along online, if you're not at one of our partner sites, here's a link for you to try to connect with other people who might want to participate in research who are also following along online. Let me close by saying a few words about our expectations for you. We've learned a lot about how this institute and how this whole event works best. Let me say a few words about that. First, and maybe this one's obvious, is we all need to be open. We all need to be open to different ways of understanding the world, different ways of measuring the world, different ways of communicating our findings, and different ethical beliefs. And openness is going to be a core pillar that we're going to build on throughout the event. So we ask you to kind of suspend some of your biases, your prejudices about other fields, and try to meet people and learn from them. Second is patience. It is really hard to design a curriculum that can both help students who have never coded before and those who have coded a lot, or those who have read, say, dozens of books in social sciences and those who have read none at all. What we've tried to do is strike a happy medium. Wherever possible, we try to provide resources to people who need to go deeper in the form of links, annotated code, or by staffing TA hours, teaching assistant hours online before our events. So please do take advantage of those. But if you find that the curriculum is moving too fast, please take time after to work through the exercises on your own, or better yet in groups, or better yet with the help of a teaching assistant or a SICSS alumni. If, on the other hand, if you're feeling like the content is going a little too slow, like you already know this, well, there's probably something for you to learn too. For example, maybe you can learn about how to best teach and communicate computational social science. We think everybody has something to learn here. Togetherness. We're in this together. As I said at the beginning, we need each other to make this field work. We need each other to do the, by definition, interdisciplinary work that comprises computational social science. So let's stick together. Generosity. I mentioned earlier, our ethic here is to pay it forward whenever you can. If you've learned a lot here, we ask that you consider paying it forward, being generous to others. That's the way we're all going to learn, particularly as this field is growing so rapidly that anything we try to teach here might be out of date in a few years. So we need you to make these kind of videos. We need you to create your own curriculum, link back to our site, to help us make the best quality training materials for everyone. If you have feedback that you'd like us to hear, please visit this link and give us some comments. In the meantime, let's get started.